Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Curved Road Only challenge, where we build a traffic efficient and good looking city using only curved roads. In the last video we have built this very interesting road layout. There's still a lot of things to adjust and fine-tune before moving on to other parts of the city, so that's where I want to start today. So let's jump straight to it. Okay, so one of the things that I want to start off with is expanding on this cycling lane that we have here. We have quite a bit of people using it already, but I think we can make it even better because at the moment this cycling lane is not connecting to anything in particular. In the future we are of course going to expand it further and lead it to the downtown area of the city, but for the time being it's only serving this residential and commercial hub, so this circular district. And I think we can improve it by extending it to the industrial district over here and provide another way for people to travel from their homes to their jobs. So that's something that I want to do right now. And for that I think I want to make it go under this bridge. And I think we can curve it here and then wrap it around here. We can also make it curve right alongside this tram track and go around the tram depot and connect to this area over here. Oh, you know, something cool that we can do is actually make it follow the orientation of the highway, so it matches perfectly, so something like this. Okay, so I don't think we have enough room to make the cycling lane go between the road and the highway, so perhaps we can elevate it and make it go over the neighborhood. So let's check it out. I'm gonna demolish this factory in the process, but that's quite okay. Who cares about factories anyway, right? And let's bring it here, and perhaps we can connect it to this road segment. And to connect this road, perhaps we can make an interesting shape. Let's see how it turns out. But for the time being, I want to continue the cycling lane all the way over here. Now, I'm not going to build anything over here on this side of the town for now, but we can prepare the layout for future developments. For the time being, I just want to connect the cycling lane to this road. So, I don't know, perhaps something like this. Okay, pretty natural looking, pretty organic. And you know what? I think we can even extend the bicycle lane by using a road like this, so a road with bicycle lanes included, and make it go throughout the entire industrial layout. Okay, so actually I think I want to use this one. I think it looks better. I like these ones better because you can see the bus stops clearly, and with these ones they are kind of invisible. You cannot tell them apart. As you can see, it looks like a unique road with no stop at all, so I prefer this one. For this particular segment with tram tracks, we actually need to use this type of lane instead, that has the bicycle lanes on the side. Now the road with bicycle lanes ends pretty much here, at the end of the industrial layout, and I want to connect it somehow to the residential district. And that takes me to a second point, which is I've never provided any cycling lanes inside the district itself. So that's something we can do right now. So I'm going to select this type of road, and right where the cycling lane connects to this road, that's where I'm going to put my road with cycling lanes. and I'm gonna make it go all the way across the residential layout. So all the way over here, and I'm gonna keep going here, and I think I'm gonna connect everything with the bridge. We'll get to it. So thankfully I can upgrade these roads with the cemeteries. And end the connection right here on the very end of the residential layout. Okay, so let's see if I can make a cycling lane bridge here. So perhaps I need to modify the terrain a little bit. Okay, yeah, much better. And it provides a connection point on both sides, I believe. Yes, there we go. So now we just have to adjust the land. And with this done, we can now end the connection and connect this second lane to this one. And for that, I'm gonna bring the cycling lanes through here, through this road. And of course, I cannot forget to upgrade the trees again. Perfect. Now let's build the lane. And you know, eventually as I develop this area, I can change the layout. But for the time being, I'm gonna make a very direct and simple connection. So something like this. Very organic and natural looking. And of course, I almost forgot to connect this point. So let's just take care of that. Okay, and perhaps we can even add some more connection points. So we have this one over here, but perhaps we can add a few more. So I'm thinking one here, like this, so following the shape of the road that we have, and the same over here, like this. Okay. So it the second lanes actually complement the roads that we have. They kind of continue the pattern. Actually, this one can even be a bit better. And yeah, I think it looks great. So let's just wait and see if people actually use it. Alright fellas, so the game has been running for a few minutes, and as you can see, we have quite a bunch of people using the new cycling lane. So we can see quite a bit of movement in these new connections. And if we move forward, let's see how's the usage in this area of the city as well. So quite a few people as well, not a lot of them, but this is definitely an improvement, and at least we've had this option for people to use. Now, if we go through this area, there's not a lot of people using the new cycling lane, with the exception of this person over here. But that's quite natural because we don't have anything zoned in this area yet. If we move and take a look at the bridge section, I've actually built a couple of pedestrian bridges so that people can cross easily from one side of the river to the other. And they're quite popular actually. So both of them. There's not a lot of people using the cycling lane bridge over here, but I promise they use it, as you can see. I do want to add some trees in the areas where the bridges touch the roads, because I don't like that grey area and that weird connection that the game automatically makes between the pedestrian roads, like the cycling lanes and the pathways, to the roads. I think they look weird, so I kinda like to use trees to hide this out. With that taken care of, there's another topic that I want to talk about. Some of you guys have mentioned, and rightfully so, that the city currently is split in half by the highway, and there's virtually no way for people to drive from one side of the city to the other using just a normal road. People actually have to use the highway for that. So, for example, if you're working at these factories and you want to export goods via the train station, that's going to be right here. The only way to get to this part of town is by hopping on the highway and getting off the highway here. And the same thing on the Emerald District as well. There's no road that people can use to go from this side of the district to this side without using the highway. Of course, some of these things are going to be addressed in the future as traffic becomes problematic. For the Emerald District in particular, I think I want to focus the transportation between Emerald District and this side of the river using other ways other than roads. So for example, we can make a lot of pedestrian bridges, cycling roads, and also public transport, and make it a true walkable city. I think that's going to be a very interesting challenge to do. But for the industrial district, on the other hand, we really cannot escape that, and we need to provide some ways for people to travel to this side of the district without using the highway. Because if we don't do that, I predict that this area over here of the highway between the two intersections is going to be really problematic. So I want to make a couple of connections, and I think for the time being I'm gonna do one right here. So I'm gonna delete this segment. I'm gonna grab a fast road like a highway to connect the two parts of the city together. So if I go to the highway panel and I filter by two-way roads and 2 lanes, I get a couple of options. So I'm going to use this one, and we can see how well it looks. So I think I'm going to make a bridge here, not a bridge, a tunnel. Okay, and we can now bring it up and connect it somehow to this layout. So something like this. And I just don't like how this type of the terrain has changed, so perhaps we can fix it. Alright, much better. Now I'm gonna do a second connection between the two parts of the city, and for that I'm gonna use this road, so this segment of road. That's not really being used at the moment, so that can serve as a travel point, kind of like a mini arterial or a mini collector. And I think I can tunnel it, just like I've done with this connection here. Go under the highway, bypass this arterial, and connect directly to this one. So let's do that. Alright, there we go. And the reason why I've connected the road directly to this road and I've bypassed this road over here, it's simply because it's a more direct route to the cargo station. If I had connected to this road instead, cars would have to go around it, make this gigantic loop and come through here at this intersection and then go to the train station. By connecting directly to this road, it's simply a more direct connection, so it takes less time to travel. Of course, this is just temporary and we can always adjust it in the future as traffic demands changes. I just cannot forget to upgrade this segment as well. There we go. And this leads us to the next part of the video, which is setting up the first cargo train station of the city. As I've mentioned in the past video, I want to build it right here, right next to this abandoned factory. And by setting it up already, even though we don't have any industrial buildings zoned here, that will allow us to see what kind of travel the trucks from this industrial sector, the farthest away from the city, will have to do in order to reach the station. So this will allow us to see the paths that a truck will take between this connection over here that uses the highway and these two connections that we have built already. And this will allow us to see if our current layout is enough to handle import and export cargo traffic. If it is, then well, everything's according to plan. But if it isn't, we'll have to restructure because everything's going to get worse as we zone more buildings in this system. So let's start and do that already, shall we? So the first thing that I want to do is convert this ugly dirt pathway into a proper railway, and for that we need to place our first cargo station. Well, not cargo station, any station in particular works. So there we go, and I'm gonna delete it right away so I don't have to pay those costs. And with these we can now build some rails. And let's see, I need to find a way to rebuild this entire section without too much hassle. So if I do a couple of guidelines, I wonder if that will allow me to rebuild the connection. Oh, and that doesn't seem to be the case. That's because I cannot make perpendicular roads. I'll have to do this some other way. So let's use dirt roads as our guidelines instead. Okay, so that worked out very well. Let's proceed to the rest of the layout. So it seems that I cannot connect rails to elevated roads. Perhaps if I do a different kind of guideline then. Okay, so that seems to work. I just need to get the elevation just right. Okay, yeah, that I think we'll be fine, guys. Alright, so the train infrastructure is built. Overall, that was actually easier than what I thought it would be. I just had some trouble making the bridge with the right elevation, but overall I think it worked out very well. So I think we can move along and start building the actual cargo train terminal. And for that I need a road so I can place it upon. So let's see what I can do here. Perhaps I want to delete this segment. Maybe it's better if I build the actual train terminal first. So I'm gonna make a guideline here, and that will allow us to place the cargo terminal right over here. Okay. Now, unfortunately, this segment of rail is going to be straight, so that kinda goes against my challenge for curve road only, but this is something I cannot do anything against. The only thing that I'm gonna do now is shut it off for the time being so we don't pay those maintenance costs. Okay, fellas, so I'm just trying something new. I want to see how this type of perpendicular connection, so a road leading straight into the cargo terminal, works. I think I've heard somewhere, or I've actually tried this in the past, where if you have this type of connections, trucks go in and out directly of the station without having to slow down. So I want to test that out. But for the time being, I'm just gonna put a temporary power source here. So perhaps we can bring a temporary power line here to provide power to the train station, okay? And actually some water. And for the time being, I'm just gonna drag a pipeline over here. Don't worry, in the future this is going to be demolished and I'm gonna build the water pipe directly under the roads. as it's supposed to be, but for the time being I just want to test something out. But yeah, I'm gonna enable the cargo train terminal and we'll see what happens. Just another note before I do that, we have quite a few industrial buildings that have this issue, so they do not have enough buyers for products, so I'm kind of hoping that the addition of an additional exporting option will help with this particular issue. But without further ado, let's enable it and see what happens. Okay, so here we have the first trucks that will want to export goods, so here we have it. So this one is exporting goods, this one, okay, so this one is not coming here, but this one is, and so is this one. So these are all trucks that are coming to the cargo train station. Okay, so this is great, this is exactly what I was expecting. Trucks are getting to the train station without slowing down, because they were already having the momentum. They don't have to make a 90-degree angle to get into the station. And here we have the first train getting out of the city. 100% full, there you go. And look at this, look at the amount of traffic that we're having already. And this is actually a good time for us to check how people are coming here. So, okay, so the majority of the trucks are using the connections we've just built instead of the highway, which is exactly what we wanted. For the trucks to be using these very direct connections instead of using the three-way intersections at the highways and creating stress in an area of very fast travel. So far we have pretty good news. And let's see if I can find a truck that's getting into the city. Oh, and here we go. I think this is the first truck that is coming to deliver goods to our town. Okay, cool, so let's see where those trucks will go. Okay, so we have this oil truck importing oil products to one of the factories in the industrial district. This one is importing to Goods Unlimited, another factory. Let's see if we have any truck importing goods to the commercial area somewhere. Frank's Fish Stick Factory and Goods Unlimited. So all of the trucks are pretty much importing goods to the industrial area, which is what we were expecting. Now, something that I wanted to is perhaps disable this traffic light because it's not doing anything here. So let's get rid of it. Over here as well. I'm gonna keep it in these high areas where it connects directly to another arterial, because I think that's quite realistic. So we'll keep them as they are and we can delete them later if necessary. Another thing that I want to do is upgrade the road types here. So I'm gonna use just a standard small industrial road. And I could take advantage of this opportunity to redo this area and use our curved road layout. And will you look at that, remember all those annoying yellow warnings saying that there weren't not enough buyers for products? Well, there we go, adding a cargo train terminal in the city and adding another option for trucks to export their cargo pretty much solve the issue. So if you happen to have this issue in your cities where there's not enough buyers for products, instead of zoning more commercial when you have no demand for it, see if your city has enough cargo stations or cargo harbors to pretty much drain all the excess cargo that you have in your town. And now our industrial sector is pretty clean, and we even have some more demand for industrial. But before zoning it, I wanna make a critical assessment of my city situation. So if I go into the population tab, we can see that our unemployment rate is at 19%, which is extremely high. we have 4,000 people employed, but we also have 4,500 jobs available, which is a lot. So how is it possible that our unemployment rate is at 19% while having so many jobs available? Well, that's because the majority of the jobs that we have in the city are for lower educated citizens. And if I go into my education tab, we can see that the majority of the citizens, 63% in fact, are well educated or highly educated. Now, if I take a look at the levels of this part of the industrial sector, we can see that the majority of the buildings are level 1 buildings, with the exception of these ones, which have the bus stops. And the types of jobs that these types of facilities offer are mostly for uneducated workers. So if I zone some more industrial right here, that will not really help the status of our city, because it will pretty much force our educated citizens to work in jobs they're overqualified for. Now, people will still work at those jobs, but that's not going to be optimal. Yes, your industrial demand will go down, but those people are not going to be very happy, and on top of that, they could be working at higher level facilities, generating much higher income for the city. So one of the things that we can do is actually upgrade the industrial buildings, which are more fitting and offer jobs for higher educated people. For example, this level 2 factory offers a lot of jobs for educated and well-educated people, and level 3 buildings will offer jobs for even more educated people. Now, because of that, instead of expanding the industrial district over here, which will happen in the future, I will eventually zone all of this with industrial, I think I want to start developing an industrial area right about over here. And that's because the proximity to the cargo station makes it much easier to upgrade, and therefore we can reach an industry of level 3 much easier. So I think that's something we can start working out right now. So for that, let's start upgrading some roads. I want these to be proper industrial roads. And now we can start zoning our actual factories. While we allow the factories to develop and upgrade, we need to think about the services that will, well, service these new factories. And there's a lot of things that we need to do, and one of the most important ones is public transport and accesses, so people can go to their jobs. What I'm gonna do is first and foremost bring the tram track all the way over here. Now, at first I thought about using this road here that we have for the tram track to travel to the other side of the highway, but perhaps we can do something more interesting. Maybe we can use this connection here and make a slight bridge that goes over the highway. Alright, so I think that's good enough. And now we can bring the tram track through this coastal road. I want something with, of course, bicycle lanes. Okay, and here, let's see, perhaps we can get off the main infrastructure. I just don't want to make a weird connection all over the place, so just gonna test some things out and see how they look. Okay, so I think that's good enough. In the future we can shape the tram connection a bit better and make it look more organic. But for the time being, I just want to see if this works. I'm kind of in a hurry to get these things upgraded because, as we can see, we don't have not quite enough uneducated workers to fill these positions, because as we've seen, the majority of our workers are educated. Bring the tram line all the way here. Actually, you know what, this is not going to be a good layout because by building a connection here, you just put a lot of stress on the avenue, as you can see. So I'm gonna take it back. Alright, so much better for the tram network. I've actually made a bridge over here. Kinda not sure if I want to continue the tram section through this arterial here, if I want to do something more interesting like this, but we'll keep it for the time being. For the moment, I just want to add some tram stations, so I think I'm gonna make a secondary line that connects to this residential neighborhood. So I'm just gonna make a couple of stops here in this area, and I'm gonna bring it all the way here. So one stop here, another here, and just go alongside the same pathways that we have on the previous line. But you know, instead of going clockwise here, I think I'm gonna go counterclockwise, just to be a bit more interesting. So there we go, perfect. Now of course we need to build a couple of bus stops to serve this area. And for the time being I am going to make a small line that will serve this area here. I'm gonna avoid bringing the buses through this main road that leads to the cargo train station. I'm gonna instead bring it all the way here. Now I'm gonna put a stop here, even though it's not gonna be used, just so I avoid having the buses use this road. So if I put a stop here, it forces the buses to go through here instead. And in fact, I think I want to change things a little bit, so put a stop here and a stop here. Okay, now as for lines, we already have a yellow line serving the industry, so I think we're going to go for an orange one instead for this new area. And as for the model, we don't have a lot of people using this line yet, so it's not really that important, but I think I am going to use this old one. We'll see how it looks. Ah, there we go. Isn't that cute? Small little tram. Hello? What's happening here? So it's actually setting 14 vehicles because I believe the line length is much bigger than on tram line number 1, hence it's putting more vehicles than in that particular line. But if we take a look at that, we don't really have a lot of people waiting at the stops. But we can reduce the number of vehicles, so perhaps 7 is more than enough for the time being, and we'll increase them as the line gets more popular and more used. Another thing that I want to do is extend the cycling lane all the way to the new industrial sector. So I need to find an interesting way of crossing to the other side. And I think we can take advantage of this elevated bridge that we already have here. So let's do something like this and see what happens. Okay, so I think perhaps we can make a connection like this, and now we just have to connect it to this road with bicycle lanes. So let's try something like this for the time being, and that already provides an access to this road that has the bicycle lanes. Now we just have to continue the section right where it stops, and for that I think we are going to go along the tram track and see what we can do here. Okay, so we have this bicycle lane that goes perfectly alongside the tram track, except for this section here where it splits and goes to the other side of the pillar. And we kind of connect it over here, so it kind of continues the shape of the circle that we had going on, but using a bicycle lane instead. And I now think I want to complete the circuit by connecting here. So something like this, okay? Now we just have to upgrade these roads to roads with bicycle lanes. And for that, of course, I need to find them. And now we can convert the rest as well and make all of this a road with bicycle lanes. There we go. Now a quick status on the industrial layout. So there's still all level 1, but right on the verge of upgrading to level 2. So I think they need a little boost in services, so let's just add a couple of fire stations and also police stations and see how they react to that. And we can also add some parks, and I'm thinking something that actually fits the theme of the industrial layout. So I'm thinking a skate park and perhaps even basketball courts. And we also have these parking lots, which are very, very cool. I'd like to give a quick shout out to the channel supporters who are contributing to the channel's growth. Thank you guys for supporting the channel and contributing for the continuation of the series and for the upload of more videos like this. Alright guys, so we now have a lot of buildings at level 2, a lot of factories to be more precise. Some of them, the ones that are the closest to the cargo train station, are even almost at level 3. Not really gonna bother with that right now. In the future we are going to place a passenger train station here, and we're going to develop this area even further, putting a couple more services here. That will for sure be enough to make these buildings upgrade to the highest level. On top of that, this new zoning adds significant effect on our city. So unemployment has decreased all the way to 4%, so that's pretty good, and the demand for industrial has also come down. If we take a closer look at our overall city stats, so starting by traffic flow, it's at 89%, sometimes it's at 90, 91. Which is pretty standard, pretty natural and pretty healthy. Oh, there you go, see, 91. And I think the biggest points or the points of highest traffic are this intersection here, this one here, and also the area right next to the cargo train station, which is more than expected because these areas will be handling the highest amounts of traffic in the city, at least for the time being. We have also enabled the encourage cycling policy, so it is expected that we'll see a lot more people using the cycling lanes to travel the city. So this cycling road, which is the longest we have right now, has a significant amount of people using it, so that's pretty cool. And if we go closer to the development or to the developed area of the city, we can actually take a closer look at the amount of people that are actually using cycling lane to travel from their homes to their jobs, which is great. Regarding public transport, so just a quick update on that. For our tram lines, the newest line that we have created on this video, it has 172 passengers. So if we take a look at the line itself, we can see that the vehicles and the stops are running very far from their full capacity. So some of the stops are empty, with the exception of some specific ones, and the vehicles themselves are also somewhat empty. For example, this one is totally empty. So I could lower the vehicle count even further, but because I'm expecting this area to develop even further, the industrial area, I'm gonna keep everything as it is right now. But of course, public transport lines is something that should be managed as the city grows, because it's something whose demand is constantly changing. But that's gonna be material for another video. That's going to be it from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you again on the next one. Take care, and as always, have fun.